Hello, class is in session. Hello, happy Friday Eve. Okay, let's tag some people up in here. Just gonna go right down the line. I hope y'all are having a good day. I am packing and getting ready for Raleigh World Tour. I'm so excited. I'll be flying in from Tennessee. I'm just gonna tag all the people up in here. Hello. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Torella. Love that name. So yeah, I'm gonna give everybody just a minute to pop on. I hope y'all are having a good day. Like I said, I have been doing some errands this morning, getting ready to head to Raleigh World Tour. All the things going on. Hello. Okay. So, let's see. Okay. Hello, Sylvia. Hi, guys. Hey, Deanne. Oh, you're going too. Yay. I am so excited. So excited. World Tour is very near and dear to my heart. And I am excited to be back in my home state of North Carolina. Hey, Brittany. So, yeah, I'm excited to see people and meet people and all the things. All of the things. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Whitney Hebel. A lot of people pronounce it wrong. That's okay. I'll answer to whatever you call me. But I am the superstar director of Simply Grace and Grit. So it's kind of hard to, it's kind of nerve-wracking for someone to say, hey, can you share your story? Because there's a lot. And I do think it's very important that not only do you share your story with your teammates and your customers, but that you listen and watch other people's stories, because Amber was on here yesterday, and I learned stuff about her that I didn't even know, and I literally talk to her every day. So I joined Scentsy in September of 2017. At that time, we were in Fort Stewart, Georgia. I am an Army wife. Eric is my rock. He's my best friend, biggest supporter. He is the calm to the crazy over here, okay? We met in 2009, got married in 2010. Typical Army story. And we have moved, I think, 9 times in the 13 years that or the 14 years that we've been together, 13 years we've been married. So we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot together. It's funny because before I was married, I lived in the same house all my life, forever and ever. Same friends growing up. Never moved, never did any of that. So when I met him, it kind of just like threw me for a loop. But like I said, he is literally, he's my other half. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. We have 2 boys. Bennett is now 10 and Grady is 8. They are busy. My oldest, Bennett, he is literally my clone. He acts just like me. He talks just like me. Like when he says things, I'm like, is that what I sound like when I say it? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Like we're having lots of reflection here lately. We just moved to Tennessee. So like I said, I started my business September 2017 in Fort Stewart, Georgia. We moved to Fort Drum, New York. And now we just moved to right outside of Fort Campbell in Clarksville, Tennessee, this past July. So I have moved 3 times in my business, so super exciting. But I love tacos. I love margaritas. I am a beach girl. It runs through my veins. what else? We have 4 dogs. We foster dogs. We own 4. We have 2 hedgehogs. We have a new rabbit, and we have fish. So we literally have a zoo here. Dogs hold my heart. I am a dog person through and through. I will remember your dog's name before I remember your name. That's just who I am. I'm obsessed with all dogs. Anytime I see a dog, I have to go pet it, ask what its name is, how old they are, just get their whole life story, okay? So yeah, it's pretty crazy over here. We're always doing something. Eric is always, he's been in the military for 18 years. He's been active for 16 years. So he is about 3.5 years away from his retirement, hitting 20 years. So that's super exciting. Sorry, I'm just like tearing my fingernail off. We will retire out of Clarksville, Tennessee, and who knows what we'll do when we leave. When he retires, Bennett will be going into high school, so we gotta figure out what we're gonna do. So that's a little bit about me, a lot of bit about me. I am an open book. I'm a very black and white person. I'm an Enneagram 8. It is what it is. What you see is what you get. There's no behind the screen here, okay? But my story. So like I said, I joined September 2017. We were in Fort Stewart, Georgia. My oldest, that is now 10, was 5 years old. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. My youngest was 3, and I was literally looking for something to call my own. And to get my goal was $300 extra a month to be able to go to the beach as much as we could. The beach was about an hour away, so it was always a day trip. So between gas and going out to eat and doing all the things that we could at the beach, it did involve a little bit extra money that we didn't have. At the point that I joined, I had already tried 2 previous direct sales businesses. One was jewelry and the other one was books. I did okay with them. I was never in a leadership role with those. Just didn't work out. But in September 2017, I had actually been thinking about joining Scentsy for a very long time. Like I said, I've always wanted something to call my own. I've always wanted to be my own boss. I've always wanted to set my own schedule. Like I said, what you see is what you get. I don't like being told what to do. But, so I knew that type of work was for me. I didn't know what that looked like, or where I could even do it. But Scentsy was something that was always in the back of my mind. Me and Eric had talked about it a lot, and he always said, just do it, just do it, just do it. And, I always found an excuse not to. So here's a fun fact. I was never asked to join Scentsy. No one ever asked me. And honestly, at the point that I joined Scentsy, we were in a spot of our life that being able to purchase things like Scentsy were not priority. They weren't, I wouldn't go as far as say that we couldn't afford it, but it was something that was on the back burner. That's something that I hadn't used in a while, to be completely honest, because that was not something that we needed to put our money towards. So I guess you could say we couldn't afford it when I joined. I was not asked, but I saw my sponsor post on her Facebook about a join special. It was a $49 join special. And I thought about it. I talked to Eric about it. I didn't even message her about it at first. And then I pulled the plug and I messaged her and I was like, I think I want to do this. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. She sent me her website. And I joined. So that's how it all got started. I think it's super funny for an SSD to say that they were never asked, because that shows the potential of what you're missing out on when you don't ask someone, okay? So we made a lot of sacrifices. We made a lot of sacrifices before Scentsy and at the beginning of Scentsy and in our life. Like I said, I am a military wife. We travel, or we move around. It feels like traveling. We move around a lot. We were at Fort Bragg for about 1.5 years before we moved. We were in Indiana for almost 3 years, 2 years and some change. We went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for 8 months. Then we moved to Fort Stewart, Georgia for 3 years, Fort Drum, New York for 3 years, and now we're here. So add that up plus the initial move. We move around a lot. So it's hard for me to find a long-standing job. And like I said, when I joined, I was a stay-at-home mom. That was something that I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to stay at home with my babies, even though it took sacrifices for my family. So I joined in 2017. I did pretty well. Jumping off, I got Sensational Start 2. I hit certified in my first month. My launch party was literally dollar store bins with the testers in them and some catalogs. And I think I had one warmer at the time. That was my launch party. That's what I had at my house. I did an open house party. And it was great. It was fun. It was something that I enjoyed. I shared on our neighborhood page, and that was literally my customer base. I didn't really do parties. I did here and there. I went through spurts of doing it, but Scentsy was not a business to me. It was more of something that I wanted to do just to earn a little bit of extra money. My first month, I did make that extra $300 that I wanted, but after that, it kind of fell off. Yes, the neighborhood page is how I found Anya. So I don't know. I was just kind of out there willy-nilly doing whatever. I was the Scentsy girl in the neighborhood. I did have a few joins here and there, but it just wasn't serious to me. But World Tour, and I said at the beginning, World Tour's near and dear to me. World Tour, February 2018, was in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were at Fort Stewart, Georgia, but my sister lived right outside of Charlotte. So I wanted to go. I didn't know anybody but my sponsor, who I hadn't seen since college. And I wasn't really sure if she was even gonna be there. She said she was, but she had a lot going on in her life at the time. No, sir, Duke. And I just kind of went in there not knowing, but that was one of the biggest pivots of my career, because I went in as a lead consultant. At that point, my highest check. First of all, who likes to talk about money, or who likes money? Raise a hand, put it in the comments if you like some money. That's why I started this business. We don't talk about money enough in this business. Just gonna say it. I put the income disclosure, la-di-da-di-da, but this is a business. This is to provide income. But at that point, my highest check was $360, okay? So I was a lead consultant, and they announced that the incentive trip was gonna be to Mexico. I love to hear numbers too, Megan. At that point, I'd never been to Mexico. I am somewhere I always wanted to go, and I was like, I'm earning that trip. I don't even know what I'm gonna do to earn it, but I want to go to Mexico for free. I mean, I don't really think it's free, but like, we'll figure that out later. So I left World Tour saying I was going to do it. I told my friend Ashley that was on my team that I was going to do it. And the next month in March, I promoted to star consultant. I did end up earning that trip to Mexico for one. So excited. The whole entire time leading up to the trip and even on the trip, me and Eric were like, are we going to get billed for this later? Like, what is really free and what's really not? Like, we had never been treated this way. And I was like, I just feel like Scentsy's gonna send me a bill when I get home for all the things that we did. But it wasn't. There was no bill at the end. It was all inclusive. It was amazing. We bought Eric in for that year because I earned it for one, and we had an amazing time. But after Mexico, I think about it a lot, but I honestly don't know why. But after that trip to Mexico, I stopped. I stopped working my business. In the time to come, I still did 500 to 1,000 in PRV because I had such a strong customer base. Like I said, I wasn't really partying, but maybe here and there. And it just wasn't, I didn't have that fire. I didn't really at that point have the leadership, honestly, to help me. And I was a star consultant for 16 months of my 5 years in Scentsy so far. So 16 months, I was a star consultant from the March of 2018 for 16 months. So I say that because I think it's super important that people know that it doesn't have to happen quickly, even though it did happen quickly because I promoted to superstar director in 3 years, but 16 months of that, I was a star consultant. Like, that's crazy to me. But it was because I wasn't working my business, okay? So I was having a lot of fun with my friends, living life, doing the minimum, making about $200 a month for my 1K PRV, 200, 300 bucks. That's what I wanted, right? That's what I started the business for. Fast forward July 2019, we moved from Fort Stewart, Georgia to Fort Drum, New York. And if you don't know where Fort Drum, New York is, it's about 30 minutes from Canada. We average over 100 inches of snow a year. It is literally hell on earth, but it's freezing cold. And that's to put it nicely, okay? It was like the one place I never wanted to go. And because my dad was diagnosed with cancer before we left, that is the place that we went because it was the only East Coast option. And so we went there. So everything happens for a reason. But when we moved in July 2019, we found that New York does a lot of things differently, but one of the things they do differently is put the kids in school earlier. So Grady would be starting kindergarten, okay, at 4 years old, okay? So at that point, we had always talked about how once the kids were in school, I would go back to work. I had a bachelor's degree. That was never really a question. Like, once they were in school full time, I was going to start contributing to our family again. At that point, we had to decide we had to make a choice. And a choice is so important because your whole business is a choice. But me and Eric sat down and had a conversation as to if I would go and try and find a 9-to-5 job, or if I was going to try and make Scentsy the best it could be. We didn't even have really a amount of pay in mind. The goal was to have some contribution to my family, okay? Because at that point, I wasn't contributing anything. I did substitute in Fort Stewart, Georgia for a little bit, and that wasn't for me either. I got to set my schedule to do that, but it wasn't enjoyable for me. So we obviously made the decision to make Scentsy a real thing. Now, leading up to this July 2019, we literally got there actually at the end of June. But once we got moved and settled, that's when we had the conversation. But all the way up through that time, even though I was a star consultant, even though I was plateauing in my business, I knew that I wanted to go to SFR in Austin. Something about events, they're my favorite. They're my favorite thing about this business. And I knew I wanted to go, and I told Eric when we found out about SFR, just to go back a little bit, I told him that I wanted to go, even though I knew we were moving. But I told him I wanted to prioritize me being there. So literally the month we moved is the month that I went to SFR. So when people say, oh, I can't go to SFR, I'm moving that month, I'm like, but do you really? Because you could do it, right? So I was already planned to go to SFR, and I was like, this is going to be great because we've made this decision that I'm going to try my best in this business and try and make it and try and figure out what I need to do to get to a point of being able to contribute more than $300 a month. That was pretty much the goal. So I flew from Fort Drum to Austin, Texas, and went to my first SFR to Austin, and I had a few other teamies go, which was great, but I went, again, I was still a star consultant, okay? I left SFR as a superstar consultant because once I made that choice, and I know this is part of my, Lord of mercy, part of my, why does this always happen to me? Brain fog. Part of who I am is once I make a decision, I make a decision. Like this is what we're doing. So I left SFR as a superstar consultant, and I also had my first ever 2K PRV month. Okay, personality. Thank you, Sylvia. Can you just like stand beside me and say all the words I'm trying to say? Thank you. It was also my first 2K PRV month, and it was also my first 1K plus check. So a lot happened in July 2019, okay? 2 months later, from promoting from superstar consultant, I was promoted to director. That was September 2019. That was, and then the following month was my first 2K check, okay? That's my family, yeah. So things changed very quickly. I went from never making more than $360 from making that decision to making a 1K check to then 2 months later making a 2K check. This is all pre-pandemic, yes. So I was a director and I was like, okay, we're doing this thing. You know, there was a bunch of things that went into helping with that. I'm actually going to be talking about, I'm presenting at World Tour in Raleigh. I'm going to be talking about some of those things. But things started to happen very, very quickly. After I promoted to director, it was about 7-8 months later, I promoted to SD, so star director. And then about 11 months later, I promoted to SSD. And not to toot my horn or not to, and you know, one day it may come, but ever since then, I've never not been paid a title as SSD. I'm about to hit 2 years on that, okay? All because I made a decision after being a star consultant for 16 months that I wanted to do something with my business. That is literally how easy it is in this business to pick up your kit and get to work. Okay, if you're doing the important things, if you're doing the income producing activities, if you're focused on the right thing, if you have the right people in your corner, if you're listening to your leaders, if you're doing all the things that have been paved for you, there's nothing but success in your future. Okay, and I say that because I've been there. Now, through all that time and through all those promotions, Eric left in March of 2020. This was 3 months before I promoted to SD, okay? So, when we moved to Fort Drum, New York, I'm sorry, this is all over the place, but this is just who I am. When we got to Fort Drum, New York, we knew that Eric was going to be deploying for at least 9 months, okay? He left the day the NBA shut down because of COVID. So when he left in March 2020, I was a director, and literally 3 days after he left, everything shut down around us. School shut down. I was in Fort Drum, who I had no family within 800 miles of me. And I packed me and my boys up and we went down to North Carolina for a few months. Now, with that being said, I still had the business. I was a director, right? When he left. And I knew that I could not stop working my business. So I literally got, you know, one of those like Rubbermaid totes that you store stuff in. I just started throwing stuff in there. I did pack my printer. I packed my testers, my catalogs, any of the scent and warmer of the months, and I don't even know what else is in there. I actually made a list at some point, but I literally packed my business in a tote and we went to North Carolina for a few months because I was in a place where I didn't have anything else. My husband was going to be gone for the next 9 months. I literally didn't know anyone around us, but I knew I couldn't stop working my business. So when I did that, 3 months later, SD came because I was working on my business. And yes, this is when the boom came, right? But like I said, and I mentioned that paid at title comment because I think that's super important, that a lot of things happened during the pandemic. A lot of promotions happened. A lot of new teamies happened. A lot of growth happened. Through all of that, if you built the foundation, through that, you're still standing. There's people struggling in this business to still stand. It's because that foundation needs to go back and be built, okay? I know that may be hard to hear, especially if you're a higher rank and your business isn't what it was. But that is why we're doing this program, to get us back to the basics of what's important in this business, okay? So Eric came back in December 2020, and like I said, a few months later, I promoted to SSD, okay? So again, I wanted to leave y'all with a few things through my story. One, it hasn't been easy. Two, I've always stuck true to who I am and what I believe and treated people how I wanted to be treated. 2023, we are matching energies because I haven't always done that. But that's what we're doing from here on out, because as you become a leader of a group of people that are larger and larger, you're going to have people that don't like what you do. You're going to have people that don't like you. You're going to have people that like to put down the things that you're doing. You're going to have people that literally are so unhappy that they're just, it is what it is. You're going to have a lot of that as a leader because you're an easy target, okay? But I know that I have always stayed true to who I am. I've always stayed true and treated everyone equally. I know 110% I've always poured everything I have into my team, into my group, and given them more than I ever had or ever dreamed of to have from a leader, and I can say that confidently. But all of this changed when I made a choice, and you can literally make that choice today, tomorrow, a week from now, or a month from now, okay? Because the tools are there, the way to be successful is there, the examples of success are literally here. It is in front of you to do, okay? But we got to get rid of the excuses. We got to stop not showing up. We got to stop letting other people hold us back from what we want to do, and all the things. So I want you to make that decision today. I want you to make that choice today that you have a gift in your hand that you're going to use to better yourself. Guys, when I talk about change, I mean change. I mean big change. We're talking about, I started this video talking about $300 a month. What would $5,000 a month be for you? That was never even in a goal set, right? What about $6,000, $8,000, $10,000? $10,000 a month? That's real life for us now. That's literally real life for us. So when I say that I made a choice for myself, I made a choice for my husband, I made a choice for my boys, and I'm making a choice for my boys and girls. Yeah, I'm talking about being a grandma, because that is how far and how successful that this business can provide for. And to know that my boys watch me do what I do and know that they're proud of me, and that what I'm doing is not just changing my life, it's changing other people's life. I was talking to Eric the other night about being literally shit my pants, scared to present at Raleigh this weekend. And Grady, my youngest, looked at me and said, "Mom, just focus on one person. You do this all the time." Now, it's not quite that easy, and I love that that's what he thinks of me, that speaking in front of that many people is going to be just whatever. But the fact that he sees that what I'm doing is making a change for us. Okay, so make the decision today. The other part of my story that I want to point out is going to events. World Tour and SFR literally changed the game. I will be sorry, I'm reading Miranda's comment. I will be celebrating my 5-year anniversary in Charlotte, North Carolina at SFR this year, where it literally all started. And if that's not God, I don't know what is. So go to the events, make the decision, get someone around you that loves you and wants the best for you. Stick to those people, and don't let anyone, I don't care who it is, your mama, your daddy, your brother, anybody stop you from doing what you want to do in life, especially with this business. I love y'all. I can't wait to hug on y'all. If you're not a hugger, you need to let me know like now, because I will hug you when I see you. But guys, these guys, like your future is literally in your hand. You can write your future. I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.